franchise. Now, let's get into the Persona engine, which they speak about managing people. It gives every player motivations, emotions, and behaviors that evolve dynamically over time. Players will feel human, powered by Persona DNA, which are new traits that impact the culture of your team, from players' attitudes to contract negotiations to roster demands. Every reaction is based on your performance and the choices you make each week. So, making it even more dynamic and even more immersed. Remember, I kept speaking on how I felt that as far as 26 was concerned, Madden was the better game than college football, because although college football had the better gameplay and the fun of the college atmosphere and recruiting prospects and so on and so forth, there was so much more you could do in Madden. So many storylines, so many things, from play sheets to abilities to training activities to breakout scenarios, so on and so forth. Everything, there was always something to do in Madden. There was never nothing to do. And now it seems that they are improving that tremendously. And as I speak on them improving that tremendously, let's get into the new weekly hub. Speaking of immersion, it doesn't get any better than this. They said all events from the new Persona engine are displayed through the new weekly hub and immersive actions. Players demanding a trade, an ESPN breaking news alert will pop up on the ticker at the bottom, as well as a pop-up notification popping up in real time, designed to make it feel like real-time media. Notifications will pop up for users as well as computer-controlled teams. So now there's no more, I don't know how many of y'all follow my Jaguars franchise rebuild or even followed my Raiders rebuild, but there were a lot of times where at the beginning of the franchise or during the franchise, when I made transactions or I restructured contracts in the offseason, so on and so forth, I went to the transactions tag to see what transactions other users might have made. And now you don't have to do that. Now when transactions are made, they pop up on the ticker in real time. And that is so huge, because just as I was speaking about how Madden has a social media hub with news clippings and tweets from podcasters, former players, analysts, so on and so forth, and how I was mentioning that they need to implement that in college football, they just bolstered it even more. They just bolstered it up even more. And it's seeming like their purpose is to make sure that they improve Madden to the point that they are the superior game and stay the superior game. Because these things that they've added to franchise mode, although college football has made a massive jump in dynasty mode and making that as immersed as possible, this takes what Madden was doing to the next level. And I can't wait to get my hands on it. I can see myself spending hours on both these games, but a ton of hours on Madden. Next, they speak on big time moves and how they impact more than just your roster. It says it changes the entire league, affecting your locker room, your former player being upset, and it also impacts the way other players around the league look at you and your organization. So if you feel like you want to go all in on a player, go all in on a player. Go send a couple draft picks, acquire that player, and go shoot for that Super Bowl championship. If you're the other team and you feel like you're not going anywhere with that player and you want to get as much compensation as possible, you'll have to deal with the consequences after dealing them. Now you have to deal with the persona that you have around a league from other players. So when free agency comes, players might think about that before they decide they want to sign with your team. Oh, this person might be liable to trade me down the line. I might not want to go there, so on and so forth. And you might make your locker room disgruntled as well, because they may feel the same way. Well, if he can be traded, I can be traded as well. Giving this even more immersion, more of a real life atmosphere. You don't get any better than that. Moving on to even bigger and better things. Negotiation system. New conversations between coaches and players during negotiations. They actually give you 4 options that you can choose from when negotiating with a player. And you're actually sitting here having a conversation with this player one-on-one. Those 4 options you can choose to either increase by 5%, increase the base salary by 10%, add a guaranteed year, or hold firm. Whatever decision you make, you must factor in that player's deal breakers and mentals that match the player's persona DNA. And they go into even more detail about this in the live stream. And again, I'm not about to go into all of that detail because this video is already going to be long enough because I'm combining everything. So if you want to see that for yourself, feel free to go ahead and check that out in the live stream, linked in the description box. Moving on, they talk about community demands that have been added, which would be holdouts, incentives, no trade clauses, and trade demands. These are all things that I've been asking for in my wish list for so long. And now we're finally getting them. Holdouts. I mentioned how we had holdouts before in the game. They finally brought them back. They brought back incentives. We now have no trade clauses. NBA 2K been having no trade clauses for years now. We now have that in Madden as well. And now you have trade demands. Demands that you must meet for these players or risk the possibility of them demanding being traded from your team. It doesn't get any more immersed than this. It says you also can delegate any of these actions to your staff at any time, but every decision you make will have consequences, as everything will. They also talk about coordinators, having real life coordinators. Let's go. We've been begging for this for so long, and it is here. We officially have real life coordinators in the game. And it says that they have began adding real life coordinators to the game. So I take that wording as they don't have all real life coordinators in the game, but they do have some. Now, how much? I don't know. They didn't elaborate on that. They didn't elaborate if it's just a few, half, majority, what, we don't know. But they did mention that they have began adding coordinators in the game. They showed Brian Flores, and they said that they will show these coordinators on the sideline as well as up in the booth. I can't tell you how hyped that makes me feel. And it stated how it brings more depth to the coach DNA system, adding value to your success as well as immersion and longevity to your league. And they said a mouthful right there, because again, something the community asked for a long time, and they finally have followed through. And now they actually bring up a list of more community wish list things that they requested that they actually added into the game, plus some other features that they added as well. And this is going to be the closing part of this video, because this was the last thing they spoke on before they actually got into gameplay demonstration. So community wish list things that were added into the game: player holdouts, restricted free agents, again, something I asked for in my wish list, free agency frenzy, all franchise tags, transition tags, undrafted rookie free agency, super sim playbooks. All of this were community demands. All have been added in Madden 27. And then they get into the plus part, which is things that they also added that weren't exactly community wish list, although some of this stuff I've heard people talking about, but they didn't put it on the community wish list side. But coach mode, just like in college football 27, they have added coach mode in your franchise as well in Madden. Weekly recap 2.0. So I imagine that means they've bolstered that and improved that to a different degree. How big of a degree? Only time will tell. Do we get a visual in-studio presentation? I'm not gonna bank on it, but we'll see. Again, this stuff wasn't demonstrated, but they spoke on it.